Welcome to today's episode, where we're taking a dive straight into the Black Templars, the Space Marine chapter that gives exactly zero fucks about rules or, well, anything really. If there's a definition of big dick energy in the 41st millennium, it's these guys. Guilliman's Codex Astartes? Yeah, they use it as toilet paper and then flip him off as they head out on yet another crusade. I mean, why follow boring rules when you can exploit one loophole and just crusade forever? To top it all off, the Black Templars are basically the galaxy's edgiest racists. They've made it their life's mission to hunt down minorities, Xenos, Psychers, basically anything that isn't 100% Emperor approved, and wipe them out. But hey, when you're committing genocide in the Emperor's name, that's gotta make it okay, right? But to really understand how this unhinged murder squad came to be, we've got to rewind back to the aftermath of the Horus Heresy, when things went from bad to holy shit, this is a mess. After Horus threw his galaxy-shattering temper tantrum, ending with the Emperor in a golden wheelchair for eternity, Roboute Guilliman came down with some serious trust issues. He wasn't too thrilled about any one dude having control over an entire Space Marine Legion anymore. So, Guilliman came up with the bright idea. Yo, let's break these bad boys up into smaller bite-sized chapters. That way no one has too much power and starts acting like Horus Jr. Some of his brothers were like, yeah, alright, that makes sense. But others, they were more in the absolutely the fuck not category. This included the primarch of the Imperial Fists, Rogal Dorn, who firmly told Robbie G to piss off. You see, Dorn straight up thought Robbie G was a complete pussy for not showing up to the party during the defense of Terra. You know, the one where the Emperor got roasted into a vegetable. Meanwhile, Guilliman thought Dorn was a rebellious little shit for refusing to accept his new Codex Astartes. The beef between these two was already sizzling on the grill, and neither was about to back down. Dorn was so stubborn about keeping his legion, the Imperial Fists intact, that it nearly kicked off a full-on civil war within the Imperium. Imagine being so dedicated to not following the rules that you almost cause a second heresy. It wasn't until things got really ugly that Dorn finally agreed to Guilliman's plan. And thus, the Black Templars were born, the very first of the Imperial Fist's successor chapters, and naturally, the ones most likely to throw the Codex Astartes in the trash and keep the fight going forever. And who would lead this new chapter of crazy motherfuckers? Only someone insane enough to match the energy. Enter Sigismund, the OG badass and the Black Templars' first High Marshal. This dude was so good with a blade that giving him a gun would have been a handicap. During the Horus Heresy, Sigismund wasn't just a combat prodigy, he was a straight-up beast in melee and was Rogal Dorn's right-hand man. However, there was a time when Dorn actually disowned his golden boy Siggy. Yup. Even Space Marine bromances hit rough patches. The drama kicked off when Sigismund met Ultramarine Keeler, one of the first living saints. She hit him with a prophecy that basically said, if you leave Dorn's side, you'll die alone in some random backwater system and achieve jack shit. But if you stay, you'll be a total badass. But the galaxy will be in a constant dumpster fire of war forever. Naturally, Siggy had a dilemma. Either go solo and flop, or be a pussy and stay with Papa Dorn and doom the galaxy to eternal cosmic warfare. Soon after, they were hit with some grim news from Istvan V. The Salamanders, Raven Guard, and Iron Hands had all had their cheeks severely clapped, leaving Ferrus Manus a solid foot shorter, or should I say a head shorter. To add salt to the wound, the Iron Warriors, Night Lords, Alpha Legion, and Word Bearers decided to join Horus's fan club. It was like an evil team-up nobody asked for. Yeah, it was a serious bad day in the office. Rogal Dorn would command Siggy to lead a retribution fleet to aid the Loyalists to destroy Horus. But Siggy was like, no, I want to stay with you, Dad, and Rogal was like, fine. Sigismund finally caved and spilled the beans to dear old Dad Dorn. He explained why he stuck around, because, you know, prophecies. Naturally, this triggered Dorn, who was basically the Warhammer equivalent of a Reddit atheist. Turns out, Sigismund had discovered religion after a cozy little chat with Keeler, and now he's out there talking about destinies. Dorn viewed this as a massive betrayal of the imperial truth that his brothers and the Emperor had worked so hard to build up. Rogal Dorn totally lost his shit. But Siggy, being the absolute mad lad he was, straight up handed his sword to his old man and went, all right, just kill me, I'm trash now. Dorn obviously declined and instead disowned him by banishing him to die on a suicide mission on Mars. But remember, This is Sigismund we're talking about, the man who eats pain for breakfast. Not only did Siggy crush it, but he somehow managed to undisown himself. Turns out, his trip to Mars was less banishment and more of a side quest. Rogal Dorn then declared him the Emperor's fucking champion and summoned him back during the siege of Terra. He was given one mission and one mission only, to hunt down every single Chaos champion. He took that quest and ran with it like a Twitch streamer on a speed run. One duel after another, the Lords of Chaos fell. At the Battle of Terra, things got so wild that it looked like Sigismund was about to end Chaos itself. The bloodbath was real, except for one little slippery snake that managed to escape, Abaddon. After the Horus Heresy, Abaddon launched Black Crusade after Black Crusade against the Imperium. And of course, who was there to constantly ruin his day? The Black Templars. Eventually, Abaddon ran into Siggy, who was still kicking after 1,000 years, and the two fought. By this time, Abaddon was juiced to the gills with warp energy, but even with these overpowered buffs, he still couldn't beat Sigismund. Then Siggy saw his opening and yeeted his black sword right into his chest. GG, right? Wrong. Abaddon hit him with the ultimate hacks and just tanked the blow, and he used that distraction to finally kill Sigismund. Even though Sigismund's epic saga ends with him getting memed out of existence by Abaddon's plot armor, the Black Templars didn't exactly hit the brakes. Instead, they cranked it up to max and kept the crusade going for the next 10,000 years. And when I say crusade, I mean they were out there slaughtering everything. Eldar, Chaos, Tau, Orcs, pretty much anything that didn't bow down and praise the Emperor's holy saliva. The Black Templars are one of the rarer chapters that worship the Emperor of Mankind as Space Jesus, even though the Emperor literally says not to do that. These guys are so devoted that they're practically sucking off the Golden Throne, so much so that they've even rejected the concept of the Premier Space Marines. You see, they viewed these new and superior soldiers as an insult to the Emperor's original creations. To them, the Primaris weren't just new recruits. They're a blasphemous twist on the classic recipe. It's like throwing pineapple on pizza. If Big E were to resurrect from his eternal nap, he'd probably vaporize the entire chapter just to prove a point about not putting him on a divine pedestal. But it gets juicier. Not only are they basically walking heretics, they're also galactic-level racists. These guys follow the Imperial Creed to the letter, and that means they hate traitors, Xenos, mutants, basically anyone who doesn't fit into their perfect human mold. They'll brutally hunt you down in space genocide fashion. The Black Templars are also infamous for giving the Codex Astartes the big old middle finger. They happily defy the sacred text, which states a chapter may only have 1,000 battle brothers. The Templars exploit a loophole by splitting up on separate crusades across the galaxy, keeping their numbers ambiguous enough to make a conspiracy theorist proud. Here's the kicker. Nobody really knows how many Templars are out there. The exact size of their chapter is a mystery, leading to wild rumors that if they all gathered in one place, they'd rival the original Space Marine legions. Therefore, they are probably one of the most powerful Space Marine chapters in terms of numbers. You can see why the Inquisition's keeping a close eye on them. Oh, and get this, because they're too busy on their cosmic road trip, the Black Templars decided to skip out on a homeworld. Yep, the toughest Space Marine chapter in the galaxy is essentially homeless. But can you really blame them? With today's mortgage rates and the cost of living skyrocketing across the Imperium, even the Emperor's finest have to make tough decisions. Instead, they've embraced that van life, cruising through the stars aboard their crusade fleets like some heavily armed spacefaring nomads. It keeps them flexible, mobile, and ready to seek out the enemies of the Emperor like a pack of vigilante road warriors. The Black Templars are not organized like a typical Codex-compliant chapter. At the top, you've got the High Marshal, aka the Big Cheese, the head honcho, the Space Marine version of the President. He calls the shots for the whole chapter, while each crusade is run by a Marshal, who's chosen in the most civilized way possible, ritual combat. Below these iron-fisted leaders are the Castellans, who are essentially in charge of babysitting the cannon fodder. They command the fighting companies, which are a mix of veterans, initiates, and neophytes. Unlike other Space Marine chapters, the Templars mix neophytes, who are essentially newbies, into squads of fully initiated Space Marines to teach them the ways of battle. That way they have a role model to learn from. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. If there's any specific 40K lore, topics, or conversations you'd like me to discuss, please feel free to drop a comment below.